Hello and welcome to the Aussie Football Passport, your one-stop pod for updates on your favourite Aussie men and women who are playing their club careers abroad. I'm your host Alex, and this week we've got plenty to bring you. From the latest Matilda squad, the first of new coach Joe Montemuro's tenure, transfer news, relegation playoffs, and the usual weekly wrap of our Aussies abroad. Let's get straight into it. Let's start with transfer news this week, and there is plenty. It is headlined by former Sydney FC man Adrian Segacic, who has joined Portsmouth on a 3-year deal. He will join fellow Aussies Hayden Matthews, Thomas Waddingham, and Jacob Farrell at the club. Some are now calling Portsmouth Little Australia. Well, we will be keeping a close eye on them next season, that is for sure, and we look forward to following the lads' movements at Portsmouth next year in the English Championship. Speaking of the English Championship, Jalen Pearman's move from Perth Glory to QPR has finally been confirmed over the weekend. He will join fellow Aussie and good mate Daniel Benny at the club. So we will have a few Aussie derbies in the English second division that we will very much look forward to and mark down in our calendars. Now down to Portugal, and Anthony Carter, who had just won promotion with Alverca, has joined Santa Clara in the Portuguese top flight. So great move for him. He had a breakout season, scoring 15 times and providing 7 assists in the second division. So the striker, will he be on Popper's radar? We know that there is a bit of lack of depth up front, we should say. So whether Anthony pops on that radar for Popper, stay tuned. No doubt Popper will cast the net far and wide like he has done up until this point. And of course, we've got a whole year to plan for next year's World Cup, which is even more exciting and gives players like Anthony a good chance to get a look in. Now to some news that is breaking. Matt Ryan, it looks like he will depart from RC Lawns. So a bit of a shame for him. It looked like he'd found a home, but his contract expires next week, and it looks like the club will not re-sign him. So very unfortunate. The coach there, Will Steele, has joined Southampton, as I think we reported a couple of weeks ago. So that looks to have had a bit of an influence on the decision there. And the sporting director doesn't seem to be as big a fan of Matt Ryan as the coach was. So it's a bit of a shame. And Matt Ryan will have to pack his things and move on. Anywho, let's get on to some transfer whispers, and let's talk about Alexander Robertson. I mean, is he an Australian? Is he not? We're not quite sure at this point. But anyway, apparently he wants to, well, he is close to, I should say, a move to Portsmouth, which would take their Aussie contingent to 5. So I guess maybe that little Australia thing is turning out to be quite true, isn't it? So well, also, those 4 lads might actually be able to talk him into playing with the green and gold. Who knows? So that's one to watch out for. Another Australian who is yet to completely commit to the green and gold, although that does not seem to be the case for recent reports. It's Nectar Triantis, who has come out and said to one of the Edinburgh newspapers that he does want to play for the Socceroos, but his current side, Sunderland, are in advanced negotiations to go for him to go to Hibs on a permanent deal. So, of course, he's had 2 previous loan spells at the club, and both have been fairly successful. So, no doubt Nectar will want to stay at Hibs. He's certainly found a home there. Another Aussie that is yet to choose his national allegiance, Christian Volpato. He's in the sights of Torino. So they're currently in talks with his current club side, Sassuolo, about to transfer. So one to watch out for. Of course, Torino, a little bit higher up in Serie A there. Sassuolo, of course, got promoted. But yes, could be an interesting move. And of course, we'll see if he commits to Australia. Now to a recent Socceroo that could be looking to make a bit of a Hollywood move. It's Ryan Teague. He's believed to be of interest of Wrexham, of course, of Welcome to Wrexham fame. They are coming down under in July, and they will play Ryan Teague's current side, Melbourne Victory. So that will be a very interesting one. Maybe while they're over here, they can get the negotiations done. And maybe we'll have an Aussie on season 5 of Welcome to Wrexham. So make sure you stay tuned to find out. All right. Now, Chelsea and Lyon are in talks over a potential swap deal involving Blues fullback Ashley Lawrence and Australian Ellie Carpenter. So this is very interesting because there's a few moving pieces to this one. The first one, of course, is Joe Montemuro, who was the Lyon coach and is now the Matildas coach. Of course, he left Lyon to take up the Matildas role. Now, we rewind another year, and the previous coach was Sonia Bonpastor. She's currently now at Chelsea. So Ellie would be very familiar to her and potentially one that she would want to bring into the club. So let's add a little bit more to this story, and it is the fact that Ellie's now wife, Danielle Van Den Donk, she has just signed for newly promoted London City Lionesses in their WSL. So, of course, she was also playing at Lyon. So there is a bit of an incentive, I think, for Ellie to jump ship to Chelsea. Of course, they'll both be based in London then. So, yeah, watch this space and we'll certainly keep you updated on that one. Sticking in England and in London in particular, and Keely Adamson is believed to be on his way to QPR from Macarthur. So if he does join, he will find 2 fellow Aussies at the club, of course, as we mentioned not so long ago, Daniel Benny and Jalen Pearman, the 2 Western Australian boys. So that could be very interesting. So we, of course, will keep you updated on Keely and whether he does join QPR there in the English Championship. All right. So, as mentioned at the top of the show, Joe Montemuro has named his first Matildas squad. Now, it's a bit of an interesting one because it is a 33-player squad, and there will be some changes between the games because it's a 4-game series. There's 2 games against Slovenia, which is first up, and then 2 games against Panama following that. So the international period goes over the June-July sort of window, and therefore, yes, of course, players will be coming in and out of the squad due to their club commitments, whether they be seasons continuing from mid-season breaks or preparing for the new season in some European seasons cases. So let's have a look at some of the headlines from that first squad. So we've got Mackenzie Arnold, Sian Fryer, and Hayley Rasso returning from injury. So that's great news for the 3 ladies there. Of course, Ellie Carpenter joins the team after taking time off from the last international series against Argentina to get married to Danielle. So congratulations to Ellie on that one, and hopefully she'll have a bit of a spring in her step for this series after that fantastic news. There's also some familiar faces returning to this squad, and they are Chloe Berryhill, or Nee Lagazzo, as we formerly knew her before her marriage last year, Alex Shidiak, Emily Gilnick, Jessica Nash, and Remy Simonson. So that's some interesting and good selections, and it looks like Joe is certainly going to put a few of these ladies through their paces over this 4-game international series. Alexia Aspotolakis, apologies to any Greek listeners out there for the butchering of that pronunciation. She returns to the squad. Of course, she has been called up before, but she has not won her first cap. So the defender did, or she was part of the games against Korea Republic as a train-on player. So let's hope Alexia gets her first cap there. All right. Now, this is a very big tongue twister, but Jacinta Galabadarachi, I think I got it. She returns to the squad. It's her first call-up since June 2022. So well done, Jacinta. Of course, she currently plays for Portuguese team Sporting Lisbon. So there you go. That's the big news from the Matildas squad selection. Of course, there's a few other familiar faces in there that we won't get into. But yes, we will keep an eye on that one at the end of the month and into July. It should be some great games as the girls prepare for the Asian Cup on home soil next year. All right, we do have some Socceroos news as well. The Socceroos have announced a two-match series against New Zealand, competing for the Anzac Ashes, which can trace their history all the way back to 1922 when Australia and New Zealand played their first ever international football games against one another. So this series is going to be in the September international window. The first game will be played in Canberra on Friday, September the 5th, and the second game will be played in Auckland on Tuesday, September the 9th. So this will be great preparation for both sides, as, of course, they are both qualified for next year's World Cup. How good. And we can't wait to see both those sides in action. All right, so that is it for the news headlines. We will head over to the weekly wrap shortly. All right, so as you know, it is weekly wrap time, and well, there is not quite as much content as in previous weeks because we only have the women's leagues and a few select men's leagues to discuss, but we'll get right into it. And let's start with our women in Sweden. And there was an Australian derby between Linköping and Kristianstad. So let's recap the players involved here. Polly Doran, she got 31 minutes for Linköping. Amy Sayer, she got 89 minutes for Kristianstad. And Remi Simonsen got 67 minutes for Kristianstad, and it was a 3-1 win for Kristianstad over Linköping. And of course, Amy Sayer and Remi Simonsen both selected in that Matildas squad. All right, staying in Sweden, Jada Wyman, she got a full game for AIK in their 4-1 win over Algensas there. So good stuff. And Jada, of course, also joins that Matildas squad. Now, it should be noted that the Swedish Women's League are about to take a mid-season break and will return in early August, and hence why we have those international breaks over the June July period. So that is good to know for everyone out there. All right, now let's head over to USA, and Alana Kennedy, she played a full game for Angel City in their 1-0 loss to Kansas City Courage in her more familiar centre-back role. Of course, she has been playing a fair bit of midfield for Angel City this season, and of course, Alana will link up with the Matildas squad from there. Caitlin Torpey, she played 74 minutes for Portland Thorns in a 1-0 win over Chicago Stars. Mackenzie Arnold was also in the matchday squad, but did not get in the field for that one. So good to see Mackenzie Arnold back from injury, and it'd be interesting to see whether Joe gives her some minutes in these upcoming international series. Courtney Vine, she followed up last week's star performance with 65 minutes for her side, North Carolina Courage, in a 2-1 win over Houston Dash on the weekend. And, of course, the NSWL will also take a mid-season break and return in early August. All right, now heading to USA's neighbours in Canada. Carly Johnson made it back onto the pitch after that injury in the recent Matildas series against Argentina. She got 16 minutes for her club side, Calgary Wild, in a 3-1 loss to Ottawa Rapid FC. All right, so that is it for the women this week. Let's head over to the men, and let's start in Asia, in South Korea specifically, and we had Jonathan Aspropatamitis. Again, apologies to our Greek listeners out there. Terrible stuff. I will promise to work on that. He got a full game for Pohang Steelers in their 1-1 draw with Daegu there. All right, now heading not too far away to Japan, and Mitchell Duke, he got 26 for Makeida Zelvia in a 2-1 win over Kashima Antlers. Thomas Deng, he got a full game for Yokohama F. Marinos in their 1-0 loss to Faji Okayama, which means they are stone cold last in the J-League and in serious trouble. So to add to a difficult week for Yokohama, they also had their interim coach, Paddy Kisnorbo, of course, of former Melbourne City fame, he resigned during the week. So Yokohama, it is looking like a difficult season for them. All right, so let's head to Europe now, and we have Mitchell Glasson playing in Finland. He got 74 minutes for his club side, KTP, in their 5-0 loss to Inter Turku. So a rough one for Mitchell. All right, now to Italy, ever the bastion for fair play and sportsmanship, as we all know. And of course, last week we left you with a bit of a cliffhanger, the Serie B playoff between Salernitana and Sampdoria. Of course, Adin Hrustic plays for Salernitana. Where we left you was that Salernitana, went down to Sampdoria 2-0 in the first leg in Genoa. Of course, Sampdoria's home. And, well, here is where the drama begins. So, once Adin Hrustic's side boarded the plane back to Salerno in southern Italy, well, 21 of their travelling party, so players and staff, got food poisoning on that flight back from Genoa. Can you believe it? Just something feels a little bit off about that. But anyway, no doubt there'll be some investigations. So that game was meant to be played on Friday morning Australian time or Thursday night. However, Salernitana had their request to delay the game for an extra 2 days granted by the Italian Football Federation. And it meant that they got to play this morning Australian time or Sunday night local Italian time. But unfortunately, there were ugly scenes in the stadium with that return leg. So it was a bit of an interesting game. Salernitana went up 1-0, but the goal was ruled out by VAR for a handball. So just to rub salt into the wound, Sampdoria went down the other end and scored, made it 1-0, scored again not too long after and made it 2-0. So it was 4-0 on aggregate. So as the game progressed, there were multiple times where the game had to be stopped by the referee, which eventually resulted in the players being taken from the pitch after 65 minutes and riot police called in to calm the crowd. Play later resumed about 20, 30 minutes later, but unfortunately, after 10 minutes more of play, the game was abandoned due to parts of seats being thrown on the stadium and various other items, unfortunately. So it means that Adin Hrustic's Salernitana have been relegated to the Italian third division. So back-to-back relegations for Salernitana in what must be a very disappointing moment for that club. So what that means for Adin Hrustic's future, well, I'd assume that relegation would mean that he will move on, and no doubt he will have plenty of suitors. I should also mention Adin did play the whole 70-odd minutes of that game as well. I got caught up too much in telling the story of that one anyway. Okay, all right, so let's round it out with just a quick note to say that there are no MLS games in the USA currently due to the Club World Cup being hosted there at the moment. So we thought we'd give a quick shout out to an A-League referee, Ali Reza Fagani, who is currently representing Australia at the tournament. Great to see him doing his thing on the world stage. All right, so that is it for the weekly wrap. Let's head over to our players of the week and wrap it all up for another week on the Aussie Football Passport. All right, players of the week. Now, you probably noticed that there was one Australian lady who we left out on our Swedish reports, and that was Avi Luik, who is our player of the week. Not only did she get a full game for BK Häcken in their 5-0 win over Pattaya in Sweden, but she also grabbed an assist. So therefore, she is our player of the week. Congratulations, Avi, and she is doing wonderfully well over there at BK Häcken, who are tearing it up in the Swedish league. Now, a men's player of the week, well, unfortunately, it goes to no one because I tell you what, it was pretty difficult to select anyone that did anything remotely exciting. Maybe we give it to Adin Hrustic for getting out unscathed in Salerno, maybe. He didn't get food poisoning. He, as far as I'm aware, he didn't get assaulted or anything like that. Maybe we give it to him. Let's go with that. Adam Rustic, player of the week for not getting assaulted by the ultras of Salernitana and not getting food poisoning as well. Oof, that's a low bar. All right, lads, pick up your game next week, please. Really need you. All right. Well, on that note, that's it for another week of the Aussie Football Passport. I hope you enjoyed this episode and got maybe a laugh or laughed at me, whatever. That's fine. Always here for entertainment value. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow, and rate the show on whatever platform you are listening to this on, all good and bad podcast platforms, of course. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Amazon. Make sure you follow our social media pages as well. We're on X, formerly Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for all the latest with the show. All right. Well, thank you very much for listening again, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Goodbye for now.